So here we are at week 5, and we're looking to complete our DBQ on the Mexican American War. So by now you should be coming into class with your DBQ finished. You will be looking at your rough copy, we'll do some editing, and then we'll proceed with the peer editing, in which you will make some final changes, and by Thursday/Friday you'll have submitted your DBQ. So we're looking at a essay that was written a few years ago, and we're just going to go over some of the key points on it. So we're going to begin by looking at the topic sentence. So one of the things we see at the topic sentence is that they made a good statement. The Mexican American War is one of the most controversial wars. They've given us setting when it took place. So remember, that's our background information. They talk about the point of view. They gave some additional background information here and how the war started. So that's okay. Now, the next part is the United States. We look at the thesis statement, which is right here. So it says the United States is justified going to war with Mexico because Mexico shot first, took numerous troops as hostile. So that is basically what President Polk was saying, and he's talked about self-defense. Okay, so we would expect this is the thesis statement. So we move on to the first paragraph, the first body paragraph, and he says one of the reasons in Mexico is justified. So here's immediately a problem, as I see. He's talking about the Mexico being justified, and we know that prior to that he said the Americans were justified. So I'm totally confused about what he's trying to do here. But then he goes back to his document. So I'm assuming that he's saying that Americans are justified going to war. One good thing is he's used about the document, he's used the actual quotes right here, and that's real important. Then he goes on to talk about the evidence shows. He's using academic language, and that's what we want to see. So you have to be able to analyze or explain why you used that quote. Go to the second body paragraph, and it says the Mexicans attacked the Americans by shooting. I'm not quite sure what that's supposed to mean. So if I'm looking at this, I'd want a better statement than that. But the good thing about this particular essay is he always refers to the documents. Now I'm asking you guys to actually talk about the documents. Who is the author? So in this case, he should be talking about President Polk. Okay? Once again, this writer shows he's demonstrating he knows something about the evidence. He's giving an explanation for why this particular incident occurred. So now we're going to be looking at the third paragraph. So here we are the second paragraph of the body. Here we see that he says manifest destiny. Now notice that there was no reference to manifest destiny in the thesis statement in the introduction. So I already have issues with that. It's making a thesis statement about something that there's no reference to at all. However, he goes on to explain. Okay, so this writer does a good job explaining using evidence. So have to give him kudos for that. And talks about what manifest destiny is. So definitely this is good. He goes into detail here. So I would give this particular paragraph, he's done well, except for his thesis statement. It wasn't mentioned before, so that's the only issue. So this is what I'm looking for. This particular writer has demonstrated that he can use evidence and he can explain the meaning of the evidence. Finally, we look at the conclusion, which is good. It's giving some background information again. Talks about justification, which once again you're reinstating. So we have 1, we have 2, and we have 3, the 3 statements. So overall a decent job with this. I would say, other than the fact that he was confused with his first paragraph, it's a decent essay, it's passing. So as you review, so we're using this particular item for peer assessment. So first of all, as you look at your peer, whoever you share your document with, first thing we're looking for is background information. This is going to be highlighted orange. That is the first paragraph. As it says the who, the what, the when, the why, it's important. Next, do they have a thesis statement? Those thesis statements need to be repeated in paragraphs 2, 3, and 4. From that, we go to the evidence. Okay, this is a reference to the documents. If they don't have any evidence of the documents, you cannot highlight anything. They have to refer to the document by title and author. Next, we go to the analysis. So, as I mentioned before, the previous writer who explained the evidence, the manifest destiny, the reasons for self-defense, the claim, that's important. That is highlighted blue. Now, one of the key things that we want to do is incorporate academic language. We have all of these words here. So even if you don't find them, that's okay, but maybe you can make suggestions as you look at the document. When each of you get your own documents, I want you to go through thoroughly looking at how you can use these transition words. So, for example, these transition words, this is where you're explaining. Sources of information. This is where you make reference to the person. What does that person do? How do they talk about the document? So all of these should be incorporated in your essay.